Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. And yeah, this is already kind of like the second time I'm reviewing this exact Toyota Fortuner LTD 4x2 because I made a severe inconsistent lapse of judgment. So when I actually gonna review right here just across the Weltmeister W5, I accidentally deleted all of my audio recordings for the exterior. Yeah, so anyway, what we have here is the 2023 Toyota Fortuner LTD 4x2. I'm a bit lazy now to review this, just being honest, but then again, it's a Toyota Fortuner, I couldn't pass the opportunity. So being an LTD, this looks exactly like the Cool Raid that I actually parked there a few weeks ago. And also being the LTD, you have LTD aero kit here, a lot of gloss black. Wading depth 700 millimeters and ground clearance is 193 millimeters, which is on par in its class. Being the LTD, yeah, there's a lot of gloss black, but at least unlike some of the models, you still have side steps over here. And gloss black side mirrors with cameras underneath. Yes, this Fortuner is equipped with 360-degree cameras, and yeah, I'm not a big fan of white paint, but this Toyota Fortuner works, especially this is the white pearl variant. So me and my sister have a thing now with white pearl cars, so yeah, this one definitely works. So here now at the rear of the Toyota Fortuner LTD 4x2, if you get the Fortuner Q and above, you have an electronic tailgate, and still being the LTD pack, you still have blacked out spoiler here and the blacked out Fortuner logo here. And it does look like it has garnish over here, but it's just actually part of the kit. And if you can see it here in camera, just overlay it. You also have a blacked out rear bumper. So as well, open this boot up. This has kick to open, by the way. However, the kick sensor I found is really inaccurate. You still have the third row seats that fold like an FX. So yeah, I understand now you can only fit one balikbayan box here compared to the two, for example, like the Ford Everest. With all of the seats down, you have a total of 200 liters. And with this layout now, with the third row up, you have a total of 716 liters. And when you finally fold all the seats down, you have a total of 1,080 liters, which is, I think, among the smallest in its class. Let's rewind the clock back to 2 weeks for the interior. Ayan. Ayan, good. Thank you. So this is the interior of the Toyota Fortuner LTD 4x2. Let's start her up. And I find it weird. This is similar to the Peugeot. The cruise control stock is here on the right side, but for the Peugeots, it's on the left. And as well, you have a engine start stop button. And the update for the start recording. And the update for the 2022 models. Lower it down. Is this climate control. They used to be a single zone climate control. This one now is a dual zone climate control. And what's weird as well, with the GRS that I drove, this almost has similar seats, by the way, but this one has ventilated seats for both front passengers. This is what's weird with Fortuners. With the lower grades, let's go here immediately in the back with the USB ports. But for this LTD, you still get two. They're about 2.1 amperes, and there's a copy space as well here. But for the lower variant, there's also a quick charge feature, which this LTD 4x2 doesn't have. And again, this LTD has ventilated seats, unlike the GRS, which I find really weird. Anyway, back to the interior here. So, looks familiar, right? Because it's almost exactly the same with the Fortuner GRS. However, the seats are a little bit different. I mean, there's still the black and red leather, but for the middle part, it's no longer Alcantara. This one is just, what, rough leather. But not that kind of rough leather. I mean, still comfortable to sit in, but it's a bit rougher than usual, like for these parts of the seat. And what's also weird with this LTD, even though it's not a GRS model, look at, there's a lot of bolstering though, even though you're not gonna off-road this, since this being the 4x2. But I challenged my friend to off-road this 4x2 because why not? So here in the door card, this one's plastic, but at least this part is still red and black leather with red stitching again. And yeah, there's a ton of gloss black in here. And for the steering wheel, it's hard, it's girthy, there's a leather here. This, what, wooden style gloss black here on top of the steering wheel, and as well here in the gear lever. At least there's not too much gloss black, what I once remembered in what most of my PPV reviews. And what's nice as well for this LTD 4x2 variant, you have paddle shifters. Also, you have your instrument cluster with a TFT display right in the middle. There's a lot of modes, very similar to the Hilux GRS. Again, the Fortuner GRS, I also have reviews of both of those. My ass is so cold now. This is new. How do you adjust the temperature? Alright. Alright, temperature low. So here on the left side, there's air conditioning vent and a pop-out cup holders which fit my water jug. And unique as well for the LTD van and the GRS van, you have JBL sound system. I've heard this already. Of course, I can't pay it for copyright reasons, but it is really good. I would say it's a bit comparable now with the sound system of the Nissan Terra, which has both sound system. And then above here, the dashboard. On top of the instrument cluster, you have leather with red stitching again, but the rest is now plastic. But at least here in the middle where your infotainment screen is, there's still the pads here, and you have a double glove box here, which is pretty unique, similar to the Everest. And then for your infotainment system, there's a lot you can play it. It's exactly the same like in the Hilux GRS. And your reverse camera, like what I said with the 360-degree camera, it's not the best out there, but it's at least very good to have, because I know some models don't even have 360-degree cameras. And weirdly, to activate the 360-degree camera, if you're about to reverse in a car park like here, you have to press this button twice. But at least there are two modes for it, and there's a few adjustments here and there, but hey, at least it still works. And then below the gear lever, you have your driving modes here. Weirdly, I remember from previous Fortuners, below the driving modes, there are 3 blank buttons here in your electronic stability control. In the previous facelift or previous generation Fortuners, this used to be cubby space. Even the owner of this car find it disappointing there's not much cubby spaces. I mean, there's here and there, but for the center where, example, you're gonna put your coins, I mean, his coins are right here, the cup holders. Your wireless charging pad here, fits my phone. 1 USB port, 1 aux cord, and a 12-volt socket. There's another cubby space here. And above here, you have your lights, LED lights, and sunglasses holder, visor with the vanity mirror with light. Should have turned that on. Okay, now next slide. What the heck is this fitment? I nearly broke the visor. And I did notice as well with this specific Toyota Fortuner, there is a lot of whack fitment here, just being honest. Like there in front of the bumper, and some paint here on the side. And literally, I just pulled this visor out, the holder literally flew off already, which I find very, very worrying, knowing this is a Toyota. And then everyone say, it's a Toyota, it will last 30 years. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I am a Toyota user myself, so I'm just saying my thoughts, okay? So back here in the steering wheel, on the left side, you have your adjustments for your infotainment system and your phone connectivity. And on the right side of the steering wheel, you have your adjustments for the TFT display in the middle, and 2 buttons here for your lane departure warning and the distance in the car. Since I forgot to mention, this Toyota Fortuner 4x LTD does not just have an ordinary cruise control, but this one is an adaptive cruise control, which the Everest Sport 4x2 doesn't even get. So 1 point already for this Fortuner. And I spoke with the owner just a bit right now. And I mentioned the whack fitment because this is his car, sorry. This holder of the visor flew off, the panel gaps at front, and the whack paint here on the door. He also mentioned the panel gap right there in the rear quarter panel on the right side. So yeah, maybe it's just down to this specific Fortuner, by the way. FYI to all the owners out there. So as well, center console box, you have okay, decent amount of storage here. I still like this is still leather with the red stitching. So with that, I'll show you the second row. So this is the second row of the Toyota Fortuner LTD. I even forgot to do this in front. Not too bad, the door touch. It's your typical Japanese car. So above here, you have your lights, and weirdly, your air conditioning controls are above here. It's not the usual controls down here in the center. But still, at least you still have 2 air conditioning vents here in the ceiling. But another nice thing with this Fortuner, the space here, being a PPV, is excellent. Feet room, knee room is excellent. Headroom, so-so, but I still deem it as spacious. But remember, I'm 5'4", that's my headroom. So taller people may tend to stagger just a little bit. But overall, if I had my entire family in this car, they will fit there happily. Apart from the third row though, the third row, I would deem it is really tight, but I do like the floor of it. It's not as intrusive, unlike the Nissan Terra VL 4x4 and 4x2. The hump is less of an angle, so my feet are at a slight angle only, but I can happily sit there in the back. for short journeys only. Here in the second row, if I sit here in the middle, transmission tunnel is wide, but it is still really low, so you can put your feet up. It is alright. And as well, you have 2 map pockets here and 4kg grocery hooks. However, there are awkward positionally, like in the middle of the seat. For example, like a MUX, D-Max, and a Mazda BT50, the 2kg hooks are above here. So I've no use for the 4kg hook. See if it's not gonna carry anything. Just put it in the floor instead of hanging it here. Central armrest with pop-out cup holders. They fit my water jug as well. Okay. At least they don't pop out like something with the Montero Black Series 4x2. Now, I have a very big... So, oh, right. The air conditioning controls also control the air conditioning vents here in the rear. And that's about it. Oh, third seat belt here. Weirdly, it's here on my left side. Usually they're here on the right side. So you have 2 cup holders and JBL sound speakers on either side. My water jug fits, and same layout we're here with the door, and black with the red stitching soft pads here on the door. So that's about here in the interior of the Toyota Fortuner LTD. So like the Toyota Fortuner Q, this one, and the top of the line daddy, the Fortuner GRS, this one is powered by a 2.8 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder diesel engine that produces 204 horsepower and 500 newton meters of torque. So this makes it now the new king of torque. So exactly the same like with the previous PPV Trailblazer, and this one is mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission. So without further ado, let's go for a drive. So finally driving this Fortuner 4x2 LTD on camera. I already driven this back in Fairview. I'm here right now in the 4th Strip parking because I want to try out its suspension. Because I've driven the Strada 4x4 Athlete here on really bumpy parts. Test out the suspension. Alright, being the 4x2, similar case like with what PPV's pickup trucks from 4x4 to 4x2. The 4x2 are way more comfortable. I mean, here already rough part of the parking. Soaks them up pretty well. That's the issue with 4x4s. There are too bumpy, aka matagtag for some, but first, surprisingly, this Fortuner alone, yes, Fortuners tend to be really bumpy. I also have my tito who owns a pre-facelift of this. It tends to be bumpy, especially in the 3rd row. But for this 4x2, I'm surprised. I mean, here, a bigger pothole. Oh, soaks them up pretty well. Look at that. I'm impressed with the ride of this. It exceeded all of my expectations with the ride of this Fortuner. So, let's get out of this parking lot. Let's go at faster paces. So here now, in the open road. Oh. Right, this is also what I like with the, not just this Fortuner LTD 4x2, the Q above, because it has the 2.8 liter engine. G and the V variants only have the 2.4 liter engines. However, those are pretty solid ones for daily use, but I really love this engine since this has 500 newton meters of torque. You can definitely feel the torque. It is really punchy. So as well, driving it around in Fairview almost exactly last week, I did notice few stuff here comparing with the GRS, because that's the only Fortuner I've driven so far. This is way more comfortable than that, because I remember the GRS has monotube shock absorbers, which tend to be more on the stiffer side and more of the sportier side as well. However, this handling of this LTD with what multi-link rear suspension only still handles pretty good, I must say. And then maneuverability around in the city, pretty good as well. NVH, alright, it's normal for a Toyota, not as good of the Everest, just being honest, but pretty good to know. Sport mode, manual mode, let's go. So refreshing to drive a Fortuner with paddle shifters now. And the response of it, oh, that's really good. There's like half a second delay only, but then again, it's not too bad. I had no idea why, despite the very harsh suspension of the GRS, I really love the handling of that thing. Yes, it's a little bit bumpier than usual, but yet again, I'll say it's not too bad. And then turning circle, nope, not gonna make it. That's something the Everest could do in this U-turn test. I love this engine. It is really punchy. And then few more things to talk about, like the handling. Yeah, there's something with the monotube shock absorbers. Yes, they are really stiff, but the trade-off is you have really good handling. And I noticed right now with this LTD, there's a little bit more body lean than usual. Of course, yes, again, sorry, being biased again with the Everest Sport 4x2. It's not as refined as that one. However, for if you're just thinking of a point A to B car, this Fortuner takes the cake to almost all the buyers. And off the line, wow, that's really good. And then VHR on the engine, yeah, you can hear the diesel drone. It's like your typical PPV, but yet again, it's not too bad. Wow. Right, finally got to drive it at really fast paces. I love this. And as I said earlier in the exterior part of this Fortuner, I've never considered a Fortuner until now. So this LTD is ticking all the boxes. I wouldn't get a GRS as much as I love that ride. I just want a comfortable PPV. The GRS, I'll be honest, might be too stiff for me. Although unlike if you put a Jao setup like what I reviewed with the Hilux GRS that had no more monotube shock absorbers. Although that was a bit too wallowy than usual because that was an off-road setup. But this LTD could be the perfect daily. I'm just being honest, only with the price. You get the high speeds in no time. And this, I have to say, against the Everest Sport 4x2, I would take this over that because of this engine. This is more fun. It's a bit lighter on its feet, and over a straight line, this would eat the Everest Sport 4x2 for breakfast. And of course, fuel economy with my fast, heavy foot driving. So according to the owner, so worst average he got was around here in the city, example here in BGC, was around 7 to 8 kilometers per liter. But here, combined figure, 10.8 kilometers per liter. So exactly the same like the Hilux GRS and the Fortuner GRS. And his best fuel economy around in highway speeds is around what, 11 to 12 kilometers per liter, which is on par with the competition. Although that's a little bit less than the Ford Everest Sport 4x2 around that highway speeds. I've seen a lot of reviews now who were able to take the Everest Sport, and not just that, the Everest Titanium 4x2 around the highway. They are able to do what, 13 to 15 kilometers per liter. So this was a little bit thirsty on highway speeds. Another deal breaker for me with this Fortuner, besides the third row tumble seats, I really can't get my head off with the price of this thing. For, you can save what, as I said earlier, 300,000 pesos less. You already have the Everest Sport 4x2, which is a little bit more refined, but I will admit this is way faster than that, and it has my glorious paddle shifters. However, though, the color choices of this Fortuner LTD are boring. As James May would say, this color of the LTD and the GRS only come black, silver, silver, and black, which is the most boring choices I've ever seen on a car. And unlike in Thailand, they have an emotional red for even this LTD, which is a little bit of a turn off to me, just being honest. So, what else to talk about with this Fortuner LTD? I'll be honest again, it exceeded all of my expectations. Yet again, I would consider one because of the brand alone, because I am myself a Toyota user. And of course, long term here and there, this will last forever. And the little bit the deal breakers I said earlier, and just make sure when you buy a Fortuner, make sure you to inspect your unit really well, because this specific one has whack fitment all around, which I do not expect from Toyotas at all. And U-turn test now, coming from the second lane. Now it makes it. So as well, I did notice the turning circle of this, it is really wide, unlike the Everest Sport, which is more car-like. Alright, this is also what's nice with the Fortuner, all the Fortuner, even the GRS, is still true to the PPV. It doesn't feel like car-like, but this one your road presence is still amazing, but then again, no one will look at you because yet again, this is just a Fortuner. And Toyota. Enough said with that. Sport mode, one more time. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention the brake feel of this. I thought these were still on drum brakes, but no, these are now on disc. That. I never enjoyed driving a Fortuner since the GRS, but this one's a pretty good shout. I am very, very impressed with this. So that concludes my review of this Fortuner. I'd like to thank the owner so much, and shout out to Toyota Motor Philippines. This is my favorite Fortuner so far. I'd prefer this over the LTD any day of the week. So that concludes my review. Hope you guys like and subscribe, and I will see you with more Toyota reviews coming right up. Bye bye.